Uh, so, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Uh, this is Christos Yoldasis speaking. I work for the Civitas network for Cyprus and Greece. I would like you all, first of all, to mute your computers, to mute your microphones, apologies, and to turn off your cameras so that we can get started. If you wish to post any questions during this webinar, please submit them in the chat box and we will later reply to it when time for Q&A is scheduled. The language of this webinar is English. Nonetheless, if you wish to post your questions in French, Greek or Spanish, please feel free to do it. We will translate them and we will reply to them. Today, I'm sorry, the webinar will last about 2 hours and it will consist of, first of all, a brief description of the project, the presentation of the 3 pioneer cities, and the keynote speech about the use of data and ICT for smart traffic management. The speakers are Ivana Strakali from Copper. She will present to us about the traffic information system which has been developed in Copper. Valentina Ridolfi, who will present about the big data analysis which has happened at Rimini and Pisano in Italy, and the public transport and evaluation applications integration in Siena will be presented by Eleonora Ercoli. The 3 speakers represent the Samport project, the Mobilitas project, and the Motivate project. The keynote speech will be made by Dr. Zoe Christoforou from the University of Patras, who is also the technical consultant of Civitas Network for Cyprus and Greece. Today, it is a big day because today the call for implementing cities kicks off. In the chat box, the link to the call will be posted. Also, you can find the catalog of solutions which will be available and you could be able to choose among them. 3 of them will be presented today. The other ones will be presented in the next webinars. Also, you can find the link for the call where you could read the call, and also the link to the Google form where you can submit your application. Should you have any question, please contact us or submit your questions to the application form. Just a quick reminder, what is the call about? In the call, we have the pioneer cities. They are partners of the modular projects of the Interreg Med call. 3 of them have made us the honor to be here with us to present their work and discuss their work with you. Then there are the replicating cities, which are cities and other public and private entities with competence in urban transportation, which are willing to adapt and replicate the solutions. This communication and this process will be supervised and coordinated by the mentors, which are mobility experts selected by the urban transport community. They will be in charge for supervising the communication between the pioneers and the replicators, also about surveying the opinion of the stakeholders in the territory of the replicators, and also to produce the adaptation and replication report. Should you have any question, please either contact us in person if you have personal communication with any of us. The consortium includes the MedCities, which is based in Barcelona, UNIMED, which is based in Rome, Civitas Network for Cyprus and Greece in Athens, the Area Science Park in Trieste, CODA2, which is in Lyon, Polis, which is based in Brussels, and the municipality of Dures in Dures. You can find all the information we need in our website, but you can also contact us in our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and also subscribe to our newsletter. In general, the Twitter is the most up to date, so it is the best option for you. Also, this is a big day because apart from kicking off the call, it is also the first thematic webinar. In the previous two webinars, we had discussed about the opening of the call and also about the the impact of COVID in urban transportation. Nonetheless, from today and until the end of November, there will be a series of thematic webinars covering all thematic areas in which solutions by the pioneer cities are offered. Next week, the 28th, it is the soft mobility. We know that it is a national holiday in Cyprus and Greece, and some of you might not join. Nonetheless, you are free, please subscribe so that you can receive the presentations and the video recording of this webinar afterwards. I will not speak anymore because after all, we have discussed about the call last week. I will pass the floor to the speaker from Copper, Ivana Strakal, who will present to us the solution which has been developed in the Sunport project. Mrs. Strakal?
Yeah.
Hello
to everybody. Now I'm trying just to connect my screen and to share it with you. I hope that you can see it.
Yes, it works perfectly.
Okay, I'm just making, okay. So, since we were happy to participate and to make this successful project and to finish it last year, it was named Sunport. And thanks, it was also one of the projects financed by the Mediterranean program. At the same time, and we are now, let's say, enforcing our result through many other projects. Among them, one of the most important for us is Samba project. This is financed by the Alpine Space Program. Let's say Koper is a small city, just for ones who do not know us. We have more or less 50,000 inhabitants, but we have a big area where people, let's say, we are like a urban center for a wider area. And because of the work, many people come to work daily, to make their daily work in Koper. And we have also the port that is very important in our city and makes a lot of traffic. And because of that, we decided to participate in those projects because we wished to make a sustainable urban mobility, considering the fact that we have in connection with the port activities. This is something that we made through Sunport project. And let's say now through Samba project, we try to change the behavior of mobility behavior of our citizen. And this is something very, very important. It is something that is going on now, but it will go on in many, many future years before we obtain some successful results. Let's say what we did in practice through those projects is fact that we make our traffic information center of the municipality. We developed some applications for the mobility for the city, and we did also some activities of the projects and project results and outputs. I'm going to prepare to present them today. So let's see how we started to think about our traffic information center. Let's say some of the documents that aim to increase sustainable mobility in the community of Koper are the three main, let's say, main documents. The first of all, we have a strategy, a community strategy. This is a smart city strategy that we approved in 2014-15. But let's say that the strategy itself has not changed so much, because the strategy with the action, with the described action, aim to develop the city in the smart way, to make strategy and to have a possibility to use the information and the communication infrastructure and services developed in those specialized centers. This is the, let's say, the strategy. It's like a global plan how to develop and how to make later on the concrete action plans. They are not still written in the strategy. They're just, let's say, predicted, they're slightly viewed in the strategy, but they are not developed in depth in the strategy itself. For that reason, the strategy is still, let's say, a valuable document to rely on when we think about the transformation of mobility and about, let's say, improving our traffic information center that we developed. Later on, we approved the SAMP. It has been approved in 2017, Integrated Transport Strategy of Urban Plan. Let's say the strategy provides the community with a short, medium, and long-term action. So let's say it is divided in 3 steps. And the aim is to improve the integration for all modes of transport, including walking, cycling, buses, train, cars, and freight. Freight is also very important for us, and increasing the sustainable mobility. This strategy has already some, let's say, concrete, even though it's named strategy, it's not so high level strategy, because some of the action plans are already developed more in depth. So out of them, we could develop later on our traffic information center. Let's say one of the objectives, it has been written in the SAMP, but it has not been developed so in depth as we did later on through the Sumport project. Let's say this action plan to upgrade the existing center, because we started with our traffic information center, let's say in 2010, much before the project Sumport started. But the objective of the project, let's say, helped us to upgrade the existing center with new software tools, database, and especially those 2 applications for the citizen that are now available. Through the project, we also put in some sensors and counters of the mobility. In concrete, that means that we have counters of pedestrians, of the cyclists, of the cars, of the motorcycles, and of the, let's say, the tier of the big trucks for the port. All these kind of cars can be detected through the sensors. And information boards have been put in place as well, and the action for awareness of the user. So we are now working a lot about the awareness of the user. This is something that we started with the support, but now when we have, let's say, the infrastructure done, now we can work on the behavioral change of the users. As I said, we started in 2010. We wanted to have the real-time, this is the first thing that we already did in past, was the real-time public buses schedules. Let's say we have the schedules planned, but the schedules of the bus lines are not perfect. You know, there are some car accidents, there are some traffic jams during the day, and even though if you have a schedule, it is not always exact. So for that reason, we put it those geographical sensors on each bus. We put them on. We considered obviously the timetables and the lines that were already decided in our city. We had this open data and spatial planning. We integrated those data with our spatial planning. And information system through the web application and SMS to the cell phones of the users. So we put it in later on the web. We put it another, let's say, layer on our spatial planning platform that we use inside the municipality, and we open it to the users through also increasing to, I mean, implementing and making those two web applications ready to go for the users. We put it two bus station tables in, let's say, in 2010, and we made some analysis, and we showed that showed some incorrectness in the monitoring system that has been done in 2010. For that, it is like just a small graphic overview of what we did. It is like traffic information sensors center that is connected to the internet and through the signals that can be transmitted through the cards that we have in our cell phones. And then those kind of data goes to the users of the public transport, goes through the same system to the bus stops and the tables of the with informations, and then it goes to the, let's say, to the public transport vehicles, buses and the bus line schedules and buses. And also we are now trying to, for example, to implement it and upgrade it also with the information about the train lines. This is something that is now we are thinking about, but it is not still not done. Let's say the what we did was that sensor platform that municipality has, the part that you see in orange. This is our own property, and we had also integrated this our sensoristic platform of the municipality with other data providers. Let's say this is something that belongs to the municipality, and this is something that also has some let's say strategic information that we do not wish to share all of them to the transport information center, because not all of them are necessary for the users, but they're important for us who work with the let's say for my colleagues that work daily on the mobility. The extremely important thing is this analysis of the traffic that now can be done before having the data of how many vehicles there are on our street. We cannot make any analysis of traffic, and even less we can control and the traffic and, let's say, monitor it and control. We have a we tried to connect some of the data and to obtain some of the data from the National Traffic Center. This is something that we did. Today we can see from the video control system of the National Traffic Center what is happening on our streets. And we have this international traffic center at the European level as well. The national is connected to this international traffic, especially, for example, for the special for the transport of the dangerous materials, of the some acids and things like that. We also know if this kind of traffic is present in our on our streets, especially concerning the port activity. For example, some kerosene that is needed for the from the Vienna airport and things like that go through our port, and later on through trucks up to the final destinations. And for that reason, we need also there is international traffic information. What is important are also the information given on the screens and the mobile applications. This is given to the citizen. Let's say the part on the left where you see those small men running around. Those are our citizens that go and have daily trips, and for daily trips they can use the informations that is given through the screens and through mobile mobile page and web applications. So how we started to do, at first we had to upgrade the software in the operational center from the two-dimensional view to the three-dimensional view, to have more concrete data. This is something that we did through the project. We upgraded it also, including the public transport in suburban areas, because we control just the city center. That is, you must know that in Slovenia we have the city that is let's say the traffic into the city can be controlled by the municipality. That means we can determine the bus lines, how to perform it, what should be the frequency of the buses on these lines, but we cannot do it on the suburban areas. And this is something that through Sumport we try to upgrade it. But it is something that is in domain of the ministries, Slovenia Ministry of Transport. This is something that we can, let's say, always talk with the ministry how to upgrade it, how to make it better, what are the needs of the citizen, because you know the ministry is a little bit too far and they do not need and perceive the need of the citizens, let's say, as we can. We obtained some data about lines, schedules, bus stops, bus driving companies, mobile applications with the real time about the bus arrivals. For that reason, we needed also the information and the approval of the ministry to put this kind of sensors on the bus. And this you can, on the right side, you can see some of the lines in the suburban areas. What we did is also integrate mobile application with the data about mobility inside the city. So that means that we now have a parking lots, we have the counters, we have the bus lanes in the city and bus lanes inside the city, and we put it also the cycling paths and cycling lanes and walking paths, or we included also them. So for example, you can see now, this is the first image with the blue stops shows you where the buses are. For example, the second time is where are the bus lines in the suburban area. The crossings are the bus stops, where the bus stops actually, and then you can see, for example, more in detail the number of the bus which is in which stop. This is in real time where the bus is at the moment. And for example, for the parking lots, you can see that this is kind of you have 1,107 parking lots disposable at the parking. For example, now there are free 404 parking lots, and 9 are for people with disabilities. And it is open from 6 to 24 hours on Monday. Let's say from Tuesday to Wednesday there is different opening. And what is the parking for the first hour is €0, for all the other hour is €1, for example. This is something that you can see for each parking in the city. What is the, let's say, what is the use of that parking? This is something that we bought in the project. Application with information about all mobility. For example, this is the mobility. Those are kind of data that now my colleagues that work with the mobility can see day by day. For example, they can see how many were the pedestrians and at what hour, how many were the people who use the bikes, and how many the the cars passed through. For example, this is the case, concrete case of the underpath in the city. You're going to see the view. We have two not like bridges, but let's say underpaths that are open for all three kind of mobility. That means for pedestrians, cyclists, and for cars. And for example, those are kind of data that you can see. That means also by hour and by day. Here you can see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So through all the days of the week. And here are the hours. Here is the number of the, for example, for the pedestrian, here is the number of the cyclist, and here is the number of the cars during the day. You can see the majority of them go between 6, 7, and 8 o'clock in this path and underpath and underway of the city, and they go home between 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 o'clock. This is the peak. Those are two peaks of the day. And here is during the day. You can see on Saturday and Sundays there are less cars and many more cyclists, you see, and also there are less, for example, pedestrians that use the underpath during the day, but during the week they're very, very used. So for example, you can see now this this data. This is something that now we obtained. So this is also, yes, and this is the direction of the we have this underpath open in two directions: in the morning towards the city, in the afternoon towards the exiting the city, let's say in the opposite way. And so now you can see two lines. One is towards the city center, and this one is out of the city center, the red lines. So you can see those kind of data now available. Considering the counters of people bikes and how we decided where to put them, we decided to put them in some of the crucial part of the city. For example, here you can see the city center, the old city center. Here is the new part of the city, and it is divided by these green areas. So there are sport areas and these commercial areas. But for us, the most important part is this part connected to the port. This was the, let's say, the part number 4 in pink, the pink square. This is already the entrance in the port. And for that reason, we put some of the main counters in these roundabouts. Let's say we covered 3 main roundabouts in the city where we have majority of the information that are interesting for us. And here is, for example, the truck terminal, as you can see. And this is also very important for us to know how many trucks go here. On the other side, we have this main roundabout that is essential for the citizen and for daily migration from other cities, from the suburban areas, but also from other municipalities. This is one of the most important, and this one is very important for the part of the citizens who arrive to the city and who live in the other urban areas, for example, here on the hill. Um, and for that reason, we try to cover those 3 roundabouts. And as I said, we put the counter in the underpath. So we have 2 underpaths. One is here and the other one is here. All of them, both of them, and in the square number 3. For example, those are the sensors that we put it in place exactly in the locations. Now you can see them a little bit closer, all of the locations, but I don't know if they're really so interested for you, but they can count us uh, the traffic in all directions inside the roundabouts. We can see who is going in straight forward, who is turning on the first exit, second on the third one. And it is important for us. The yellow let's say circle, it means the big screen that you're going to see later on, but just remember it is this big screen with the number of the parking spaces available. Now this is the second roundabout, and let's say, so this is as I was talking, this is the red circle that you could you've seen before, now shows you how many parking lots are available and are in general, for example, 390 parking lots, 248 are still available, and the parking space is 200 meters from you, or 250 meters, 270, depends where you wish to go. For example, those are the big info screen that we put it, and we put it 3 of them inside the Sumper project. So now you can see those counters. For example, this is the underpad I was talking about. You can see this is a kind of this is the sensor that we put it on, and these black lines that you see on the pavement, those are the sensor as well. So you can see this way it's go and this way it's go. Though, so this one is for the pedestrians and for the bike, for the people who are biking, and on the other side you can see this is for the cars. As I told you, it is both ways. So in the morning you go towards the center, and in the afternoon you go the other way. And this is the main focal sensor that counts all of it, all kind of traffic that is going through. Now what we are trying now to implement is through the Saba project is to show people how to let's say change their habits. This is the final things, but now through the preparation, we already made a preparation, a study of the action plan, the preparation of the application. This is the upgrade of our applications that we have, and implementation of the workshop. We already did them in 2019, even though later on as we planned, because of the COVID, we finished them much later. And now we are working on the 4th phase, the action plan, implementing, monitoring, testing. This is something that is going on now. It was predicted to be finished until September, but it is still ongoing because of the COVID situations. So let's say that this is all from my part, but if you have any other questions, I'm available to answer to you now, because later on I will have to leave because I have another video call later on but this is something, yes, that I wish to share with you. If it can be useful for you in any way, if we can help any other city by telling them how we did it, how we involved the citizen. I mean, by putting in place the things, we didn't involve citizens so much because we involved them through the SAMP. Writing the SAMP and writing the action plan in the SAMP, we kind of already involved the citizens. And we also involve the port itself. The port is informed about the sensor that we put in place. They know everything I mean, they have all the data that we measure. If they use them, I'm not sure if they actually use them. Now we are gathering those information for over a year. Let's say we now have it in a year period, some of them for 2 years. But I know that my colleagues in the traffic office started to use them. At the beginning, they thought that those kind of data were quite irrelevant for them, but later on, now day by day, I mean, they use them more and more, and they see how useful those kind of data are for them in the daily work. So
thank you very much for your presentation, also for joining us, because we know that you had a very busy day, but eventually you managed to join us. I have to say that I find this work very impressive. First of all, it started long ago in 2010, and this shows your engagement to this and how much you believe in this. I would like to ask the audience to submit any questions they have now at the chat box, because later on it will not be possible as Mrs. Terkalg has to leave. I would like to ask you if those data are open, or I mean, if they can be provided to anyone who requests them, or are they, you know, strictly provided to predefined institutions?
No, those are open data. If you ask, we can provide them. Obviously, not the ones that are as you seen before on the screen. I said you the orange part are a kind of data that are our internal nature. That means that belong to the municipality and that are not automatically connected to the traffic information system, but only some of them we directly use them. But anyone who asks them for the data that are of public nature, I mean, we provide them obviously, and we also, as for example for the port, they can have this kind of data whenever they wish. You know, they are available to them. How many trucks they are in, which direction they go. I mean, those are kind of data that are open.
Okay, there is one question. Has the municipality thought on the potential of the mobile phone app and tracking info for tourists to the city? Is there any plan to translate it or to adapt it to tourist services?
Uh, Up to now, not yet, because when we started to make our project, we were oriented towards our citizen. We wanted to, you know, to give first information to the citizen. This is something that can be upgraded later on, but we thought that we should change the citizen behavior at first and to give them. Then let's say the tourism is something that can be added, but now we do not have a project to do it, and you know, also things late now have stops because we have cruise ships, many cruise ships in the city, but now you know, in
Yes,
this year it was very heavy, and
the tourist flows.
later on, maybe later on, absolutely.
There's another question about the cost of the intervention.
Okay, the cost of the intervention, let's say that the cost was more or less, let's say in the information system was 2000 30,000 euros, 230,000 euros was the, let's say the mere the cost of the equipment. Later on, we had more or less other 50,000 euros. The cost was of the installation. So you must consider the equipment and the installation. Then we had the application that was other 20 more thousand more. I mean, it was divided in more, you know, um, in more phases, you know,
Okay.
first phase, second phase, and the application itself. And let's say we just upgraded something that we already have developed. For that reason, it was not so expensive if you have to start from the scratch.
Okay, okay. So many steps. First of all, the ICT, then the equipment and the installation, and then
Yes,
the application, the mobile application.
yes,
You have mentioned your collaboration with other stakeholders, such as the port,
yes.
in the region. I would like to ask you, because you know the synergies are always a very important part, especially when you want to do a work like this. Did you have any problems? Do you have any suggestions, any advice to the people who might be considering this and might be, you know, reluctant because they think that it would require too much effort to persuade them?
Actually, collaboration with port is constant. There are up and downs, obviously. When we were making our SAMP, we were lucky that they were very involved. We asked them many things. For example, I would like our port to develop their own SAMP inside the port because they cover a huge area, but because of some I mean, they have a security mobility plan, but they not have a SAMP for
Mhm.
inside the port. This is something that I am still trying them to adopt, but they are quite reluctant, you know, even though inside the Sumpor project we have some good example of how inside the port some things also can be done. For example, in Valencia, they were our partner, but you know, it is not easy to convince them. They have just, as I said, the security mobility plan, but not the sustainable urban mobility plan. You know, there are kind of two different things because they have so many vehicles going inside the ports, and they could, for example, use this kind of uh, or you know, SAMP for the for the port itself. It is difficult. It is obviously difficult to collaborate with the others. It is also difficult to collaborate with the citizens because each of them wish to solve his individual problem, not, you know, and it is up to us to think how his individual problem influence to all of us and how can be englobed in a bigger solution, you know, in something that is good then for more than one citizens. You know, what are the needs of more citizens and how to combine them together. For that reason, I think that when we talk with the citizen, we should think about the people who are directly involved. For example, we are now thinking about something to improve our mobility logistics system in the old city, and we are now talking with the concrete people who are interested to, for example, small and medium enterprise who work in the city, you know, for the local community of the city center, for the citizen itself, how to make trips easier for the citizen. You know, we try to do it, let's say, to be more focused, not to ask everybody, but to ask the concrete part of the citizen who can give us good answers and not just general answers and general problems.
Okay, thank you. This is very clear. You focused on the most important stakeholders and you tried to get clear answers instead of opening the scope of your collaboration.
Yes.
Also, it's very important because after the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plans, you know, mobility plans for large organizations, be it large companies, be it ports, be it university campuses, is also an issue which gains more and more attention, and perhaps in later steps also these kind of organizations might be involved. I would like to thank you once again. I would like to ask if there are any other questions. If not, I would like to thank the municipality of Koper for their participation, for making it here, and moving on to Mrs. Valentina Ridolfi, who will speak to us about the big data analysis which has been conducted in Rimini, Italy, and Misano. Mrs. Ridolfi represents the Mobilitas project. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you also for inviting us to present these two pilot actions conceived within the project Mobilitas. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, very well.
Okay, perfect. Mobilitas project intended to jointly contribute to traffic reduction through introducing sustainable mobility policies and solutions among tourists and the local population with the implementation of the SAMP and also pilot actions. The process implied that the University of Venice elaborated mobility scenarios for the 9 project areas, and each partner of the project identified 3 types of activities to be implemented between elaboration of sustainable mobility strategic documents, development of IT tools, and implementation of sustainable mobility solutions. We arrived to an output which was planned as the result of a single project restricted to the topic of sustainable tourism mobility, but became actually the result of a whole community because it was extended accordance with the JS to the all 7 projects of the urban transport community. So the handbook on sustainable mobility in the MED area was born. So IT tools applied to sustainable tourism mobility, an overview on the several implementation of the several pilot actions realized within Mobilitas. We go from policy paper towards sustainable mobility solutions on the French Riviera to, for example, in Rimini, document to integrate the SAMP. Again, we go from big data collection and implementation of bike counters in Misano Adriatico to develop a web platform for data collection and an app offering traffic information in Malta, and to arrive to Plano Prates, where they, for example, implemented a database, a website, a mobile app, and a digital map, just to give you an idea of the kind of pilot actions implemented within Mobilitas. So today I'm presenting 2 pilot actions connected to the topic of big data applied to mobility. Working with big data, let us understand if the actions on sustainable mobility are in line with the strategies of the SAM. And gathering data on mobility
Valentina, is your microphone turned off? Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Now, yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't do anything on the.
Okay, can you please share your screen again? I don't know what happened.
Yes, I was telling that I am presenting the 2 pilot actions connected to the topic of big data applied to mobility.
Please share your screen again. It seems that something happened. I don't know. Apologies.
Oh God. Can you see it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I was telling that gathering data on mobility, in particular during peak tourist seasons, of course, pre-COVID, because now the situation is different, allows also the monitoring of trips by large numbers of people. So we implemented 2 pilot actions in this field. In particular, the first one was in Rimini during the Ecomondo Fair in 2018, and the MotoGP race in Misano Adriatico always in 2018. On these occasions, the cities, the 2 cities are faced with intense tourist flows, of course, which put considerable pressure on transport and cause congestion. And thanks to the big data analysis, it was possible to know how tourists' origin and their use of transport to evaluate some actions, implement the framework knowledge, and propose a biennial monitoring method. So, okay, the big data analysis has involved aggregating information from disparate sources with the goal of drawing meaningful conclusions about travel behaviors, mobility and transportation system analysis in terms of network performances, for example, average speed and travel times, in full respect, of course, of the privacy of the users. This mix of different data types makes the analysis more valuable, as allows to investigate many facets under the same initiative. The data used to compile the analysis are in detail CSLI, cell site location information, namely telephone data from a mobile phone operator derived from the location of mobile devices, then anonymized and aggregated in total respect of privacy. Then floating curve data, FCD, punctual data transmitted by black boxes installed on cars and other vehicles that provide information in terms of traffic flows and speeds on the road network. And they are very useful for traffic and network performance estimation in particular. Then traffic detection cameras placed on site provide measurement on traffic flows, subsequently processed and grouped by vehicle type. And the analysis data refer to what was detected by 4 double stations, one for each direction of motion, located near the north, south, east, and west fare entrance. The last one is the traffic control system with fixed detection location, which provides vehicle flows along some roads of regional and national interest, subsequently processed and broken down by vehicle type. 5 different sections were taken into consideration on both directions along regional roadway, source regional open data portal, and the A14 Rimini North and South motorway tool booth. I'm talking now about the first cases concerning the Ecomondo. This was particularly the setting of the research for both the cases. I mean, the Ecomondo Fair and the MotoGP race of Misano. And we ask a company of expert mobility to follow all the pilot actions, or both the pilot action, and it was Go Mobility, this company located in Rome, and they were in charge of developing the technical action and also an easily accessible data presentation tool consisting of picture, graphic, tables, etc. The software conceived as it, the output was structured by themes and sections and includes the result of number of visitors and overnight stays, main access points, routes and parking lot analysis, road network performance, survey of vehicle flows, speed analysis, including the identification of the critical points. The action was illustrated within the handbook already mentioned. So what is Ecomondo? Ecomondo is the only platform in Europe to offer a broad program of conference, workshop, and seminars to present national and international evidence and new trends relating to the various strands of the circular economy, including building, packaging, electronics, and the automotive industry. And in particular, key energy is Europe's comprehensive event on renewable located in Italy. So it is very important to have tested this pilot action during the fair Ecomondo. The analysis investigated the dynamics of mobility related to events held at the Rimini Exhibition Center. The data were processed and mounted on different dashboards containing fillers that allowed to view the information on the desired days. In order to see also the differences that exist between event days and non-event days, of course, select the time slots, the type of vehicle and the area of analysis. And more detailed information on the outcomes, well, I'm going to illustrate them in a few minutes, were taken out of the searching. Thanks to the telephone data, the CSLI, visitors' origins have been investigated both for regional and provincial aggregation level, with reference in particular to central days of the event Ecomondo, the 7th and the 8th of November 2018, and the same statistical source also provides information about number of overnight stays by visitors in Rimini and in the nearest little town, which is Riccione, attendance distribution throughout the day, a main pose used for access and exit the fair area. And this information was then associated with the analysis of flow distribution, which enter and leave the fair between the different roads connectors. And in this case, as the source is FCD database, so floating car data, as I saw before, the sample refers only to the private transport mode. The same FCDs extrapolated from the exhibition area on the days of the event were also used for an in-depth analysis of the travel times and distances aggregated by class and distributed by percentage, so that to each class of travel distance is attributed a distribution of the evaluated travel times. And the third field of the study concerned the network performance in terms of both use and speeds. And the related dashboards investigated the different components of vehicular traffic, cars and heavy vehicles, and variability of speed over the area, comparing the values of the day of the event with the average ones. So in order to further investigate the impact of the event on the road network, data obtained from the traffic control system were also processed, displaying the daily trend data aggregated at quarter of an hour. And the flows were also investigated in the area closest to the exhibition facilities through traffic detection cameras installed at the main access road and at parking lots. In this regard, the data of the measurements made with the camera were used to create the daily distribution of enter-exit flows to the fair, classified by vehicle type, with a focus specific on the transited bikes. As for parking, through floating car data points for each parking lot of the fair, west, east, south, or central, the dwell times were classed and the percentage distribution processed. So the results, I can show you some data that you can see, but we can have an overview after this presentation. During the 2 central days of the event were recorded 73,700 total admission, Italian and foreigners, about 5% the foreigner were, with a greater turnout during the second day. And among Italians, about 65% of visitors came from northern regions, mainly from Emilia-Romagna, which is the region where Rimini is located, and Lombardy, the region of Milan. At a provincial level, the main origins are from Milan, Rimini, Rome, and Bologna. And most of the visitors arriving by car accessed the fair between 8 and 10 a.m., while the cumulative total attendance, based on telephone data, reaches its peak in the range between 1 and 2 p.m. The exit curve has a more pronounced peak than the incoming one, especially between 5 and 6 p.m. The concentration of people outgoing in such a short time frame usually causes a big congestion in the city. And we also checked that a very high percentage of visitors made an overnight stay in the areas of Rimini and Riccione, 42% the night between 6 and 7 November and 47 the next, with a clear preference for the areas in the North Marina and Rimini downtown, because they are closest to the fair center. And on the first of the analysis day, it was estimated that about 55% of the visitors passed through one of the 4 points of interest selected, up to 24 hours before arriving at the fair, and the day before was also considered in this analysis. Among these, almost 60% passed through the Rimini North motorway toll gate, because the fair area is located near the Rimini North toll gate. and the other come from the other 3 points considered. And the remaining 45% that has not been detected in this point of interest used other roads. The origin of users traveling by private car investigated by floating car data reports consistent results with those obtained from the analysis undertaken with telephone data. And always referring to November 7th, we see that 31% of users surveyed in the Fiera has passed through the Rimini North motorway toll gate, 14 from the Rimini South motorway, and the rest is distributed on the other 5 routes considered mainly serving the local traffic. And from the comparison with the traffic flows at the toll booths provided by Autostrade per l'Italia, we can note that while the Rimini South exit is normally much more frequented than the Rimini North exit, during the days of the event, the result is reverted. And the 7% of the vehicles going to the fair, monitored by floating car data, represents the heavy traffic component. And thanks to the representation of the points released by car, georeferenced on a map, it is possible to identify which road infrastructure are used by this traffic component, so to make more consideration about the network occupation. Also, network performance was investigated using the speed of detected point, and the reference dashboard shows that the variation of speed of the network during the day, both for a circumscribed area around the fair and for the wider area. So you can see now from some information collected into chart. So here you can see the result of the analysis in terms of number of overnight stays and hourly distribution of the day attendance. Then you can see the characteristic of the displacement in the right picture, and the use of the road network based on kind of vehicle in the down picture. The speed in the road network was checked. You can see the chart with all the metrics, and the routes from the motorway existing in the right picture, and the access I mentioned before to the parking lots. And here, just to give you an overview about the traffic, the amount of traffic, of course, I repeat, in pre-COVID era, in a pre-COVID area, because this year, I don't know what is going to happen for Ecomondo, which will take place, finger crossed, between 2 weeks from now. So you can see the amount of people waiting for the train, because in the fair area, there is also a train station. So the second one, pilot action, was applied to Misano MotoGP race. We are talking about one of the events with a higher turnout of visitors, and of course the analysis in this case was related to the day of the race, and compared also in this case, like for Ecomondo, to an ordinary other days. Of course, this kind of analysis concerning a sport event, very famous sport event, can be significant for identifying the critical issues arising from events of similar scale. So in this case, thanks to the telephone data, visitors' origin have been investigated both for regional and provincial aggregation as for Ecomondo fair. In this case, the day of the event was the 9th of September 2018. And the same statistical source also provided information about number of attendances in Misano during and after the event. And this information was associated with the analysis of flow distribution, which enter and leave the parking areas of the circuit between the different road connections. And in this case, as the source was floating car data, the database connecting floating car data, the sample refers only to the private transport mode. And in this case, the results were that during the day of the event were recorded almost 200,000 of total emissions, Italians and foreigners, about 24 of foreigners in this case. Among Italians, most of visitors came from northern regions, again, mainly from Emilia-Romagna and Lombardy, exactly the same situation that in Ecomondo. And 84% of the visitors came from other provinces, mainly from Milan, Rimini, and Bologna. The same situation practically for two very different events, because one was a circular economy fair, and the second one is a very famous sports event. Most of the visitors arrived by car and accessed the parking areas between 7 and 10 a.m., while the cumulative total attendance reaches its peak in the range between 11 and 1 p.m. So the exit curve in this case had a more pronounced peak than in the incoming one, especially between 2 and 4 p.m. And the concentration of people outgoing in such a short time frame usually causes, also in this case, gridlock problems. So based on the several results came out from the analysis, possible measures can be taken to mitigate the impact of this event on mobility, on the mobility system of the little town of Misano. You can see the location of the analysis point and the network session of the Emilia-Romagna MTS network, the flow organization system, so the different tracks, the green tracks, the yellow track, and the red track, and the main pole involved when Misano MotoGP race takes place. The parking system compared before and during the event, and the flows and critical nodes, in particular from caused by vehicles coming ongoing from to the shows of the motorway, the congestion, in particular during the exit, and the geographical origins of visitors. And this is the end. What about, we tried to came out of these two pilot actions some lessons, of course. And this is just for Ecomondo testing, quick SWOT analysis, which can be extended also to the MotoGP race, because the outcome were practically the same, that the lessons learned were practically the same. So we can count among strengths point the fact of collecting mobility data during a reference event, the comparison with mobility data referred to days of standard city life, the elaboration of data and statistics, the study of traffic congestion levels, the possibility to forecast tourist movement habits and groups' social behaviors to make some services more efficient or to implement them. Among the opportunities, the availability of data for a study of this on the city planning during fairs and similar events that create great traffic congestion. For example, other fair, CJEP is a food fair, TTG is a tourism fair, etc. A possible positive result could be the starting point for future analysis of the mobility tourism flows through big data. Otherwise, it could be used to resolve different problems of tourist traffic. Among weaknesses, test elevated costs because each pilot action costed a few less than 8,000 euros. The testing, which is limited to an only area of the territory where Rimini Fair is located, so not to the whole territory of Rimini. The excessive monitoring cost doesn't allow, of course, to carry out further analysis on the mobility tourism flows in standard summer situation. Lastly, among the threats, the partial recognition of the mobility flow dynamics, the impossibility to foresee in a way completely correct the situation, the difficulty to analyze the given data, the problems referred to data safety and privacy, and the necessity of further analysis. So final remarks, I leave you some, also in this case, some main point that we take out of this experience. A comparison between innovative survey systems and existing tested system is necessary. I mean, the study conducted through innovative travel survey system need to be compared with some existing tested system. Any study becomes meaningful if it becomes systematic in the method and repeatable over time. And the case study during a Comondo Fair and MotoGP race show that a greater territorial extension would be appropriate. We don't know, maybe extend to the urban functional area, the region, or the province, or other extension. Then the public-private relationship in the organization of the events with a strong impact on mobility cannot be separated from the implementation of a mobility plan implying reciprocal commitment, including the related costs. Of course, we can have different ways of measuring and monitoring the movement of cars, bicycles, and pedestrians that already exist. But we are facing a lack of real and systematic acquisition and monitoring of data relating to local public transport. So much more can and must be done on this issue. Again, the monitor, sorry, of course, the telephone rings in the, okay. The monitoring of pumps, for the monitoring of pumps, experimental tools should be used to carry out systematic surveys, for example, for cost reduction and result comparison. And of course, big data can be very important also for the tourism sector, for example, to track arrivals, on-site movements, etc., and can offer services tailored based on the mobility choice of tourists. Again, the big data integration with the existing tools, data acquired need to become an available, integrated, and queryable database. And single municipality or big or small enterprises having their own databases cannot act as capacitors. So we need a subject, an extra subject, a third subject, able to coordinate system policies regarding the use of the big data. Finally, studies on big data are multiplying, but there is the risk not to sediment specific knowledge regarding mobility. And the use of every tool, including big data, must be finalized in relation to the programming and planning objective to be achieved. Thank you very much for your attention, and I am available, of course, for any question.
Thank you very much, Valentina, for this very interesting presentation. I would like to ask the audience if they have any questions to submit them at the chat box, and I will read them then, and Valentina will reply. I would like to ask, first of all, if you could, because we've seen the very interesting presentation and also the very interesting lessons learned at the beginning of the presentation. If you believe that there are any success factors that have led you to the successful implementation of this work, I mean, which points should a potential replicator examine before deciding to carry out the replication of this work?
Well, I think that the success factors are these two pilot actions opened to us an enormous, dramatic possibility to track traffic and to use traffic data for many policies of government of the town and the territory. I think that the main lesson, at least in my opinion, is to consider data as a part, as a strategic part of mobility planning. And I think that we should we should enforce very much partnership and relationship among different stakeholders. For example, also the region, I mean the government of the region, in order to use this system in a wider way. Of course, the problem of the cost is an obstacle at the moment. But I think that this is the main point that I take from this experience.
Indeed, especially for the cities that are currently developing their sustainable urban mobility plans, analyzing data and having better input to plan and design mobility services is indeed crucial. So we have a couple of questions coming from the audience. From Laia Vinias Marseille. Nice to see you again, Valentina. Have you had any dialogue with other regions, the ones of origin of tourists, for instance, to better coordinate services?
No, but it is exactly what I was saying a few minutes ago. I think that we should work for extending partnership also among regions in order to be able to impact much more with the use of the data on mobility policies. And in particular, this first testing was interesting in order to see which regions are particularly interested at the moment, of course, by this traffic flows connected to the events concerning trade fairs or sportive events in our province.
Thank you. Indeed, also the successful pilots. I have stopped sharing the screen at the moment. Now, we have also some other questions. One is, which were the principal challenges you faced? I mean, why did you do this?
Well, we unfortunately, I don't know if it is only a problem of Rimini, but I don't think so. We suffer from a structural lack of data on mobility. And when we have to find data on mobility, is really difficult. Also, we tried also in the first phases of the project Mobilitas to do surveys among tourists, among citizens, but it was so difficult to reach the goal. So in my case, the challenge was, the main challenge was to demonstrate that using data, you can acquire knowledge that can be used for planning before, designing before, and then implementing mobility policy.
Indeed, thank you. So let me go on to the other questions. Wait a moment.
Well, about the compatibility of the different platforms, I think I'm not, unfortunately, I'm not a technician, I'm not an expert, I'm not technical, but I know that the technical company which followed us for the implementation tried to work comparing always all the data sources. So the platform was practically the result of this comparison and integration among floating car data, traffic detection cameras, traffic control system, and site location. So it was the result of these four systems of gathering data.
Okay, thank you. And one last question from the audience. How do you achieve the big data from mobiles?
Well, it is simple because the company which followed us works with Vodafone operator. So it is Vodafone, the operator of the mobile, one of the main operators of mobile phones in Italy. So they used the cell phone of Vodafone to, and this is why this kind of analysis are really expensive, because these companies, these operators sell data as they were petrol. So that is why we normally tell that now that data are the new petrol, because they are really, really expensive, and of course, but of course now we have this possible solution. Maybe also the partnership I mentioned before could be useful to make pressure on these telephone operators to make lower fees and to let us use better the possibility that data offer to us for our policies.
And one last question from me. Did you have any privacy issues? I mean, with GDPR?
Because the data were disaggregated, so the privacy was absolutely guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is one of the conditions, of course.
Yes, this is one of the conditions. So, Valentina, thank you very much for your presentation and the replies. Now, I would like to pass the floor to Eleonora Ercoli. Mrs. Ercoli represents the Motivate project, and she will speak about public transportation and evaluation of apps integration in Siena, Italy. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Christos. Good morning, everyone. I will start sharing my screen. So can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. First of all, I would like to thank you once more, the urban transport community, for the opportunity today to present the outcome of the Motivate project in Siena. The Motivate project, the key objective of the project was to support the SUMP planning and development through new data collection tools, through new way of evaluating the existing transport services, and also assess new mobility measures. These new tools are represented by crowdsourcing applications. Motivate operates in 5 med urban cities affected by seasonality problems. As you know, the effectiveness of SUMP measures is somehow provided by cities' peculiarities and also by travelers' behavior. And the situation becomes even more complex when it comes to cities presenting intense seasonality due to tourist flows. The measures proposed in these cases should be of high flexibility to satisfy, from one side, the mobility demand generated by tourists during high seasons, and from the other side, the mobility measures should also be adaptive to residents' needs in the remaining time of the year. You have to keep in mind that Motivate was running from 2016 to 2019, so before the advent of COVID. So this situation was common in the 5 involved pilot cities. In fact, Motivate was active in 5 med urban cities: Almada in Portugal, Ioannina and Rhodes in Greece, Larnaca in Cyprus, and Siena. And I will represent the case study of Siena in this presentation. Then there were also other scientific entities: the Aegean Energy and Environment Agency, CERT, the Center of Research and Technology in Thessaloniki, then MEMEX, the organization I work for, so an engineering company supporting public transport operator and authorities in the design and the implementation of ITS and public transport services. And then TM, the public transport operator in Siena, plus 2 associated partners, so the network of sustainable Aegean and Ionian Islands, and the municipal transport company of Rhodes. Unlike traditional data collection methods where citizens or visitors are passive data sources of the transportation system, the innovative approach of Motivate lies in their active involvement in transport data collection, in identification of problems related to public transport services, and also in the assessment and evaluation of new mobility measures. The core output of Motivate was the development of the Motivate platform and the related app with some key functionalities, such as capturing the origin and destination of travelers through the trip diary functionality, then analyzing the feedback received by transport users, feedback on both the operated transport services and on possible new measures for implementing the SUMP. So the main goal of Motivate was actually to create a smart and active travelers community med area. Siena context, so you probably all know Siena. Siena is located in central Italy, in Tuscany region, and like other 1,800 small and medium towns represent a city which have a network of historic narrow streets, and it is a medium-sized city hosting one of the oldest universities in Europe with 17,000 students, and within an area of 120 square kilometers. The city counts around 54,000 inhabitants and 13,000 commuters per day. These were, as I said before, data before COVID. And of these 13,000 commuters per day, around 70% was for working reasons. And the public transport in Siena is operated by TM. TM not only operates in Siena, but also in other provinces of the Tuscany region, such as Arezzo, Grosseto, and Piombino, with an area of 13,000 square kilometers and nearly 27 million kilometers per year. TM operates different services, from urban services to extra-urban services, school services, and also demand responsive transport services. And with a total of 14 million passengers per year, and with these figures, TM represents the 8th largest Italian public transport operator. The Motivate project in Siena was a bit different from the other pilot implemented in the other 4 cities involved in Motivate. The reason of this is that there were 2 main reasons of this difference. The first one is that unlike the other cities, the public transport operator was involved as direct partner. TM, in any case, is owned by Siena municipality, but the other cities were directly represented by the municipalities as beneficiaries of the project. And another very important aspect to be taken into account is that the new crowdsourcing Motivate functionalities were implemented on TM mobile app that was already in operation before the starting of the project. Before the starting of the project, TM mobile app already counted around 8,000 active users since 2014. The choice to implement the Motivate functionalities on the existing TM mobile app was due to several reasons. First of all, avoid promoting another app at city level. This could have created some confusion and misunderstanding in the users, but also to avoid the duplication of efforts from TM, for example, for the marketing and the communication activities. The reason behind this was also to optimize the promotional activities, building on past promotional campaigns. And also a success factor was also represented by the greater leverage that TM mobile app had. In fact, taking advantage of TM mobile app users as potential users of Motivate functionalities was key to reach the highest number of trip diaries users within the Motivate timeframe. Motivate also represented an occasion for TM to not only to extend and expand the functionality of the app, but also to renew the graphic style of the app. You can see in the slide the top, the old version, and at the bottom, the new one implemented within Motivate. And then, as I said, the Motivate was useful for TM for implementing new functionalities, such as a functionality to retrieve and capture data of origin and destinations that have been very helpful for TM to make further analysis on the mobility demand in Siena urban and extra-urban areas, and also to get direct feedbacks from public transport users on the services operated in the different lines in Siena. These are the new functionalities developed within the Motivate platform. So as I said, the trip diaries for collecting origin and destinations. In the case of TM, for collecting origin and destinations related to the service operated. Then the evaluation of both the app in terms of, for example, reliability and usability, and the evaluation of the operated services in terms of, for example, frequency, time coverage, connections options, and also the assessment of new mobility measures. TM mobile app is optimized for both smartphone and tablets, and is available, of course, on Android and iOS platforms, and provides transport and services information to all users of public transport service. There is no need to register on the app. Sorry. Services are accessible from the main screen of the app. As you can see, we go from bus journey planner to scheduled and real-time information at stop points, departure times, routes, then news and information about services, for example, in case of strikes or service disruptions, lines diversions. Then there are functionalities to buy tickets and subscriptions online through QR code or SMS, also to pay fines and to book specific transport services. In blue, you see the two functionalities which have been implemented in the during the Motivate project. And the effective users of the app in 2019 were 20,000. So if you consider that at the beginning of the project, there were 8,000 users actively using the app, this has been a huge increase. Siena, among the other Motivate sites, represent a specific case involving the implementation of Motivate functionalities in an environment already equipped with a really used app. This is a situation that is also common to different European small medium towns that already have app for transport information. Moreover, the Siena site in Motivate is also relevant for understanding the level of technologies and complexity involved to replicate the Motivate functionalities on an existing app, and then integrating it in the Motivate platform in order to share the collected data. The figure in this slide shows the modules of the AVM system and modules needed for providing the related time and scheduled public transport services to the users by different media channels represented by the web, by the panel at bus stops, and also by the TM mobile app. Now here it is important to underline that there was a very long discussion between the partner developing the Motivate platform that was shared in Motivate and the public transport operator, TM. They had to intensively work together to design the new functions and define the modalities of data exchange flow between TM mobile app and the Motivate platform. In the end, it was decided to avoid the integration between the two different systems. The TM mobile app, in fact, is already interconnected with an easily expandable background module for allowing collection, storage of data and report users' feedbacks. So in the end, it was decided that data had to be shared offline by the two platforms using Motivate Cloud functions. Some key, let's say, aspects that have been identified after the end of the implementation of Motivate is that the real-time information proved to be the most used functionality by end users in the app. Basically for knowing the real-time information of bus arrival at the stop. The bus stop is also fundamental to estimate the origin and destination metrics for public transport. And considering these, it was decided that the real-time function could have been used to link the travel diary function in a friendly way to the user. In fact, once the user selects a bus stop to access real-time info, the origin point of the trip is represented by the selected bus stop. Here an example. As I said before, there is no registration required to use the TM mobile app, and this also helps to collect much more data. In this slide, you can see one of the results obtained by this project. In fact, the travel diary functionality allowed TM to make some qualitative evaluation of the existing services, in particular to make the analysis of the mobility demand in terms of main origin and destinations. The picture in this slide shows, for example, the detail of origin and destination couples with the highest number of travel diaries. This analysis allowed to understand the possible enhancement to the public transport offer in Siena area, and also allows TM to perform different actions on the trips and mobility demand, as for example, data mining and analyzing and analysis using different parameters, such as, for example, seasonality, winter versus summer, or working days versus weekdays. Then to make analysis on a specific public transport line or main public transport axis in order to evaluate the matrix, origin destination matrix, and then identification of public transport line with the highest number of users in order to increase the service in specific period of the year. The other functionality implemented in Siena within Motivate has been the evaluation questionnaire. It concerned a series of questionnaires that TM mobile app users can access to evaluate, as I said, the app itself, but also the bus lines and any proposed new mobility measure. The evaluation is simply done by answering the questions, each question with a star rating system. This functionality have the different objectives, such as, for example, to collect specific data to enhance traditional customer service, improve the traditional customer service, moving further to a more continuous process than, for example, the current adopted one that was based upon periodic service. And then to reinforce the quality of TM app with new functionalities or specific solutions to answer the users' needs. So in the end, it can be said that the functionalities implemented through the Motivate project represent a low-cost solution tool to identify possible public transport data trends, but that needs to be further analyzed with traditional instruments. In fact, it is not easy to collect a high amount of data to comply with the requirements of SUMP. The need to have a statistical relevance. So the Motivate experience showed that these kind of tools, this kind of crowdsourcing tools can be, for example, usefully adopted in the preliminary stage of mobility demand analysis and definition of mobility interventions, but can't replace completely the traditional data collection. They are complementary tool for discovering needs and also to guide traditional targeted promotional campaigns or other campaigns for data collection. They are also easily to be adopted when the data to be collected requires a low sample. And they obviously can support the SUMP that data collection, but again, together with still traditional data collection campaigns. This is the end from my side.
Thank you very much, Eleonora, for the very interesting presentation. I would like to ask the audience if they wish to submit any questions, please submit them at the chat box, and I will read them, and Eleonora will answer to them. I would like to ask what has been the feedback of the users? Were they satisfied? Did they make any suggestions on this app?
As I said before, the most used functionality was not during the Motivate implementation. So during the project lifetime was the real-time one. So the trip diary functionality rather than the evaluation questionnaires. But in the end, in fact, we had 300 trip diary per day. During the Motivate project, reaching also peaks of 600 per days when massive promotional campaigns were performed by the company. The users' feedback, in any case, was good because having the possibility to express their opinions without having to, for example, show their names or put the face on was really appreciated. Yes.
Thank you. We have a question from the audience. I would like to ask if this new TM app was financed by the PA or by private partner.
Okay, the new functionality implemented within Motivate was co-financed by the Motivate project and by TM, so the company, the private company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. I also have another question because you said that you chose not to interfere the two different platforms. Is this correct?
Yes.
Were there technical problems? Were there other kind of problems?
Actually, there were initial technical problems between the two platforms. They realized, the research partner and the public transport operator, that it would have been too time-consuming to make this kind of interchange, and there was not enough time during the Motivate project to implement this kind of integration. So it was decided to do the other way. Yeah.
And are there any plans to extend it to add new modules?
Oh, okay. This question should have been raised probably to TM public operator. Yes, but yes, the app is still constantly evolving, and in the end of at the end of the project, TM decided to keep, for example, the evaluation functionality, even if it didn't reach the expected number of feedback by the end users, because they found it important in any case to receive some feedback from them. And they also decided to extend these functionalities to the other provinces served in their area. So not only Siena urban and extra-urban areas, but also the other provinces of Tuscany region.
Thank you once again for the presentation. I believe it was very interesting to see how the use of data cross-cuts the development of sustainable urban mobility plans, which fall into the mobility planning category. This was very, very interesting. Now, because we're a bit off schedule, I would like to ask Zoe Christoforou from the University of Patras to make a recapitalization presentation for what we have seen today and potential future ways to use data in traffic management. The stage is yours.
Good morning. Thank you, Christos, for the invitation and for the introduction. So I think we've learned a lot from the three previous case studies. So in what follows, I will try to summarize in terms of challenges encountered by the various cities, solutions that were developed, and future possibilities. Do you confirm that you see my screen?
Yes, very well.
Okay. So let's go. It is well known that today's cities face many challenges, the major one being congestion, along with its externalities. Car use remains dominant, and so we have delays, travel time variability, air pollution, noise, and in general, poor livability in urban centers. On the other hand, public transport remains unfortunately less attractive, especially under the COVID pandemic's context. And so it's very important to take some action. So cities face challenges, but Mediterranean cities face even more challenges. I think we've heard about the problem of an uneven distribution of flows throughout the year. We have seasonal flows. We may have major events, as in Italy. We often have port activities that come to compete urban activities. We have in the Mediterranean a very strong dependency on road freight versus rail freight that we find in northern cities. And we also have adverse climate conditions, mainly strong heat and rain episodes. But there are some good news in all of this. We have also important opportunities that arise, especially thanks to new technologies that become cheaper and affordable for the cities. And these technologies include everything we call smart phones, smart sensors, smart payment means of payment, smart cards, and many other social media and GPS technologies. So all of these new technologies produce new data in really huge amounts. And these data include many information. I think I won't go through all of them because I think previous speakers mentioned them. origin destination matrices and the real-time information for public transport passengers, and feedback from the user, which is really, really important. So one would may expect cities to be happy obtaining all of this data, but cities are not always very happy, and they are not happy because new data also raise new issues. Privacy concerns hold very often, but I think, in my understanding, the major challenge that they have to encounter is, as mentioned by, I think, at least 2 of the 3 speakers, it's how to take all of this data, because these data are unstructured numbers, and then digest them and produce useful information. So this may seem easy, but in reality it is not. It's very difficult, costly, and time-consuming. So when we talk about the new smart data, the big data, we talk about the 5 V's. The first V is volume. Of course, the major issue with this data is their volume, but also veracity is a very important issue, because those data were not purposed to be used in mobility planning. So we may find many inconsistencies and uncertainties within the data. They appear in very different formats. This is variety. A major issue is the velocity. This is the speed at which they change, and we have to do some updates at a very high rhythms. And then the last one is the one I already mentioned, V for value, how to extract useful data from the raw data that become available. So in my understanding, the next big challenge is not how to obtain smart data, but how to make a smart use of data becoming available. I have here an example of smart use that is based on smart ticketing. You know that smart cards are being generalized across the many public transport systems, because they are convenient both for the travelers and the operators. So how can we use this data to obtain the profile of the users? So the data that becomes available includes many characteristics, both related to the user, the end user, and to the trip. So for the user, we have details such as gender, age. For the trip, we have very precise information on the points, origin and destination, the day and the time of the trip, and the interchanges made throughout the trip. Those information were otherwise obtained by travel surveys that are, of course, costly and even more time-consuming. So these data provide valuable input for cities for many studies at all possible levels. We can understand long-term tendencies, we can adjust and optimize the service at the tactical level, and we can do some real-time monitoring of all the network and obtain a better knowledge of the current state, and then evaluate system performance. The possible output is extremely rich. I think the previous speakers already mentioned origin destination matrices, traffic flows, performance indicators, capacity measurements, level of service estimation, and also demand forecasting or elasticity estimation. But to obtain this output, we have to tackle 3 major challenges that come just before the output at the analysis level. So I think the main 3 technical challenges are, first, how to restructure the data and create an understandable database, how to digest this data to produce information and knowledge, and how to combine this knowledge to existing knowledge. And here I refer mainly to travel surveys that provide very rich information that cannot be obtained by smart sensors. ideally should be combined with the new data. So at the first step, creating an understandable database, we have to perform many controls, many corrections in order for the data fusion and automatic updates to become possible. At the second level, we obtain correct data, but let's just check here. These data are boarding and alighting data from the Athens Metro. So data visualization doesn't allow for information to be obtained. We have many data, but do we understand anything from these pictures? Personally, I understand nothing. So there is a lot of work to do to transform raw data to information. Here, well, we start to understand something. We have tickets, we have the evolution over time of tap-ins and taps out of the system from the smart cards for different days of the week and over a whole day. And the third step is to assure compatibility and between two different or many different databases. I think it was also mentioned during the third presentation. We have first volume issues because smart card data, or in general smart data, may refer to the whole population as they are often exhaustive, and they must be combined to sampling data as travel surveys where we have sampling techniques and do not refer to the whole population. Then we have some time and network scale issues and space scale issues because, as you know very well, travel surveys are mainly house-based, and this is not the case of smart sensors that are placed on the network. So for those who are interested in smart card data in particular, this is an interesting reading that I recommend. And I have put the link. The presentation will be shared after the end of the webinar. So to sum up, those new smart data provide very strong opportunities to all stakeholders. Municipalities can make informed, evidence-based decisions for mobility planning. Operators may now develop innovative services. They can gain enhanced knowledge of operation and, in the end, increase their patronage. Users enjoy higher quality of service, and the society as a whole enjoy a better and safer environment and an enhanced quality of life. And let us not forget that SAMP can serve as an integrator for all of these initiatives. And I think it's an important facilitator for all Mediterranean cities. So today we had the presentations from 3 cities that pioneered in this field. And I hope that many others will be inspired by these examples and will be willing to replicate those experiences and even go further on and pioneer in smart data collection, and I insist also smart use of existing mobility data. Thank you for your attention. I think I had to finish at 11:30, so I think I went very quickly, but please, you have my email. If you have any question, don't hesitate to contact me.
Thank you very much, Joy, for the presentation, which gave us the opportunity to reflect on what we have heard earlier from the 3 pioneer cities on how these solutions can be implemented, what are the challenges, the problems, the opportunities. We are a bit late, but I will not delay anymore. If anyone has any last question, please submit it. I would like to tell you that later on today, I will send all of you a thank you email with the video of the presentation, the video of the webinar, and and also presentations which have been showed today. Yes, there is a question. Could we have the presentation slides of today, please? Yes. Also from the speakers who agreed to share them, I will share them too. Also the keynote speech, my speech as well. To summarize, please be informed that next week there is the next thematic webinar, which is about soft mobility. It is the same hour. Many of you have registered. Nonetheless, if some of you have not, please do it. You can find all the links in the chat box. I am posting them right now. Today is a big day because the call has opened. You can find in the links the text of the presentation of the call. You can read it. You can also find the link for the help desk where you could reach out to us. And also you can find the Google form to submit your application. Should you have any questions, get in contact with us so that we will reply to your questions. And we invite you all to the next webinar. We know that it is a national holiday in Cyprus and Greece, but nonetheless register so that you will receive the presentations and the video. So once again, thank you. Many thanks to the speakers from the pioneer cities. It's been a pleasure to have you. Of course, I guess if anyone has any question, you can also get in contact with the ladies who joined us today to request any further information needed. Once again, thank you, and meet you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.